5 steps to get you through any running injury. So let's get into it. G'day runners, welcome to Running Alive. I'm Jason Monfort, and in this video we're going to take you through the 5 steps to get you through any running injury. These 5 steps are what I consider to be optimal for getting back into full running again. Step number 1 is prevent further injury. It is as simple as it sounds. As soon as you notice that injury, you stop doing things that make it worse. So that might be as simple as stop running. Rest, splint, do all the initial stuff that you do for your first aid. So pull a muscle, bang. Rest, ice, compression, elevation, all the basics. Get it done, get it sorted. Don't make the injury worse. Gone are the times of running through injury. It doesn't work. So take that moment. It might be minutes, it might be hours, it might even be out to a couple of days. But do what it takes to make sure you don't make the injury worse. Step number 2, diagnose. Get that injury diagnosed. You need to know what you're working with. We can make a lot of assumptions. Dr. Google is definitely not our best friend in this. Go to a doctor that understands running, that understands sport, knows what they're talking about, or a good physiotherapist or other practitioner that you trust that knows what they're doing. Now that you've diagnosed your running injury, we get on to recovery, which is recovery, step number 3. What you want to make sure is that the injury recovers. You want to know that your injury is recovered to the level that is required to handle the rebuild and training. If it's not, you're going to make it worse. You're going to be out for longer. So what do we mean by recovery? Well, it depends on the injury, but recovery can be as simple as have a couple of days off running. For a soft tissue injury like a tendon strain, it can be as simple as a bit of rest, taking the load off it, not running, doing some other exercise, a bit of light, gentle exercise to keep the fluids flowing and blood flow in and out around the injured area will aid in recovery and repairing. So step number 4, the rebuild or rehab phase. This is the time when you want to make that injured area strong again. You want it functional and you want it ready to handle the run training you're going to dish out. We want to build that area strong enough to handle the running. So usually that is some specific strength work right around the area, mobility work. And number 5 is new training. This is when we get back into proper running. Our idea is we are working towards our next running goal, whether it's a race or otherwise, or consistency or a certain fitness level. Most running injuries are a cause of incorrect training, incorrect loading, overuse injuries. So therefore we need to take a different approach to our next lot of training. If we do the same thing again, chances are we're going to be injured again, and we don't want that. We want to keep running, we want consistency, we want to be rewarded for our efforts. So go back to the drawing board, look at your program, look at your goals, understand your injury, get the help that's needed, whether it's still through a physiotherapist, through a knowledgeable running coach. If you think these 5 steps are useful, let me know. If not, if you've got a different approach, comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the topic. Anyway, see you in the next videos. Keep on running.